Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're diving deep into a topic that so many wrestle with in silence. The question that lingers after the texts stop, the conversations fade, and the silence grows louder. Does he secretly hope you'll text again? This isn't just about the messages left unread or the calls never returned. It's about self-worth, emotional clarity, and the hidden dynamics at play after a breakup. If you've ever found yourself wondering whether he's moved on or still checking his phone, hoping to see your name, this speech is for you. Let's uncover the truth behind the silence together. Let's talk about something that's hard to admit, especially when you're sitting there wondering if he still thinks about you, if he secretly hopes you'll text again. Because here's the truth that stings a little. It's not always you he misses. It's the attention. It's the validation. It's the feeling of being wanted. For a lot of men, the absence of your texts doesn't immediately create a hole shaped like your heart. It creates a silence where their ego used to get fed. He might not even realize it at first, but over time, as that steady stream of reassurance dries up, your good morning texts, your check-ins, your little reminders that you cared, it starts to itch. And that itch isn't about losing the relationship, it's about losing the role he played in your life. You see, when you cared, he felt important. When you reached out, he felt desirable. You may have been holding the emotional weight of the connection without even realizing it. So when you pull back, it's not just you stepping away, it's him no longer feeling chosen. That's a blow to the ego, and most people, regardless of gender, don't handle that gracefully. And so what does he do? He starts to wonder, not necessarily because he's ready to step back into your life with love, effort, and clarity, but because something feels off. The mirror he once had in your affection is gone. And without that mirror, he doesn't see himself the same way anymore. He questions if he was ever really that desirable, or if it was just the consistency of your attention that made him feel that way. Now, you might be sitting there tempted to reach out just to clear the air or to test whether there's still a connection. But before you do, ask yourself, do you really miss him? Or do you miss the feeling of being wanted? And more importantly, is he missing you? The real, complex, layered you? Or is he just craving the safety of being adored? Because a man can miss your attention and still not be ready to give you what you deserve. He can replay your messages in his mind, feel a rush of nostalgia, and still not change. Missing you and valuing you are not always the same thing. One stems from his ego, the other from his heart, and those are very different places. When you stay silent, it forces him to sit with the consequences of his choices. It removes the instant gratification he used to get from you, and it puts the responsibility for effort back where it belongs, on him. And if he's not willing to meet you there, then let that silence speak for itself. Because the more you recognize the difference between someone missing your presence and someone missing their own reflection in your eyes, the easier it becomes to protect your peace. There's something incredibly subtle about the way some men handle a breakup. They don't always slam the door shut. They don't always give you closure or have a big emotional conversation to end things properly. Instead, they leave it slightly open, just enough to create doubt, just enough to make you wonder. And that tiny crack in the door, that's not accidental. He might not be texting you, but he's also not blocking you. He's not making an effort to be in your life, but he hasn't fully let go either. That's intentional. Because even if he's not sure he wants a future with you, he likes knowing the possibility still exists. He wants to believe that if things ever go wrong in his life, or if he starts to feel lonely, or if he simply changes his mind, you'll still be there, that you'll still be available, still emotionally connected, still waiting, even if quietly. And that's what makes the silence after a breakup so confusing. You think if he didn't care, he'd be gone completely. But people don't always walk away cleanly. Sometimes they stick around in your energy, in your mind, by doing just enough to keep you emotionally tethered without actually doing the work to rebuild anything meaningful. Maybe it's liking your story. Maybe it's replying to a memory that pops up. Maybe it's just those random check-ins that feel warm for a moment, but ultimately lead nowhere. He wants the door left slightly open because it gives him comfort. It means he doesn't have to deal with the consequences of fully losing you, but he also doesn't have to step up and earn you back. It's having the illusion of access without the responsibility of commitment. And while you sit there questioning whether he still cares, whether you should send that text, whether you're missing out on a second chance, he's benefiting from your indecision. This is where your power lies. It's not in texting him to find out where he stands. It's not in asking for clarity from someone who's already shown you confusion. Your power is in choosing not to participate in half-hearted connections, because you deserve someone who doesn't want the door cracked open. They want it wide open. They're willing to walk all the way through it. No hesitation, no guessing, no waiting. When someone truly values you, they won't risk losing you to preserve their comfort. They'll risk their pride. They'll risk rejection. They'll make it unmistakably clear that they want to be in your life, not someday, not maybe, now. So the next time you wonder if he secretly hopes you'll text again, remember, just because he wants the door left open doesn't mean you have to stand in it. Silence can be unsettling, but what most people don't realize is that it also becomes incredibly powerful. When someone is used to you being emotionally available, always responding, always reaching out, even after things fall apart, your silence becomes the loudest thing in the room. And if you've gone quiet after he walked away, don't underestimate the impact that's having on him. He may act unaffected, but inside there's a storm of uncertainty building. Because here's what happens when you stop texting, stop reacting, stop trying to keep the connection alive. You become a mystery. And mystery is hard to ignore. When he knew exactly how you felt, when your love was right there, easy to access, it was comforting, it gave him a sense of control. But the moment you go quiet, he loses that control. And for someone who once relied on the predictability of your emotions, that shift creates anxiety. He starts to wonder what you're thinking, who you're with, whether you've started to forget about him. And that curiosity can drive him more than actual affection ever did. People don't always chase what they want, they chase what they can't figure out. And when he can no longer predict your next move, when your silence doesn't come with explanations or breadcrumbs, you suddenly become a puzzle. And whether he admits it or not, he starts checking his phone more, not because he wants to pour his heart out, but because he can't stand not knowing. You may think he's fine, you may assume he's moved on, but if he's used to having your emotional presence in his life, your silence feels like a vacuum. He might scroll through your old messages, reread your words, try to relive the comfort he used to get from you. He might even find himself typing a message and then deleting it because pride tells him not to reach out, but curiosity tempts him. And this is why staying silent isn't about playing games. It's about no longer feeding something that wasn't growing. It's about taking your power back from someone who only started valuing your energy when it disappeared. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is create a space where someone has to sit with the consequences of not appreciating you when they had you. When you speak less, people start to listen more. When you remove your energy, they start to feel the weight of it. And when you stop making yourself emotionally available to someone who only offered you confusion, they begin to understand what they lost. Not because you told them, but because your silence said everything. There's something most people don't fully understand until it's too late. Emotional security isn't something you find just anywhere. When someone walks away from a connection where they felt truly seen, truly cared for, there comes a point, often in the quiet, long after the goodbye, when they start to realize what they've lost. Not because they're suddenly in love again, but because they miss the feeling of being emotionally safe. When he was with you, maybe he didn't say much about how much he appreciated your patience, your loyalty, your softness. Maybe he even took it for granted. It's easy to get used to someone being there, to their check-ins, their encouragement, their warmth, until one day it's gone. And in the beginning, maybe he felt fine. Maybe he thought freedom would feel better. But now he starts to feel something deeper, a subtle regret creeping in. Because it wasn't just about you being in his life. It was about what you gave to his life. It was about what you gave to his life. It was about what you gave to his life. See, emotional security is the thing people don't notice until they no longer have it. It's the way you created a space where he could be vulnerable without judgment, where he didn't have to prove himself or wear a mask. And while he might not have fully appreciated it in the moment, that comfort you gave him, that quiet strength of yours, is not easily replaced. So now, in the silence, he remembers how he didn't have to question your intentions. He remembers how you made him feel supported, even when life was messy. And suddenly, he realizes that while he may have ended things thinking he needed something more, what he really lost was someone who gave him the kind of peace that people spend years searching for. And the thing about regret is that it rarely shows up with an apology. It often just lives in the little moments, when he hears a song that reminds him of you, when he's surrounded by people but still feels alone, when he wants to talk and realizes he can't turn to you anymore. That's when it hits him. Not just that you're gone, but that the emotional security he felt with you may not come around again. He didn't just lose a relationship. He lost the version of himself he was able to be with you, the one who felt safe, accepted, understood. And the more he realizes that, the more he feels the absence of what he once had. But here's what's important. Just because he regrets losing that doesn't mean he's ready to protect it, nurture it, or earn it back. Regret is only meaningful when it turns into growth, and not everyone is willing to take that step. So while he may long for the comfort you gave, it's not your job to offer it again. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone feel the full weight of what they walked away from. It's easy to look at someone who seems fine on the outside and convince yourself they've already moved on, that they're living their life unbothered, while you're the one still overthinking every detail. But just because he's quiet doesn't mean he's unaffected. In fact, the silence often says more than words ever could. You'd be surprised how many guys, yes, even the ones who look totally composed, check their phones hoping your name appears. They won't admit it, they won't say it out loud, but deep down, they're waiting for that ping, that message, that little hit of validation that tells them they're still on your mind. And it's not always because they want to start over. Sometimes it's just because they want to know they haven't been forgotten, that you still care, even if they didn't earn that care anymore. You see, when you were consistent, when you were the one showing up, sending messages, being emotionally present, it became part of their world, a comfort, a pattern. And when that pattern breaks, Even the most emotionally avoidant people feel it. He starts scrolling through your old messages late at night, not necessarily because he misses you in a deep, soul-connected way, but because it feels good to remember when someone loved him that purely, when someone understood him, when someone cared. He might be out with friends, posting stories, looking like he's thriving, but then he's checking to see if you've watched. And if you haven't, that's when the doubt creeps in. You see, people don't always reach out when they miss you. Sometimes they wait. They wait for you to break the silence first because they don't want to look vulnerable. They don't want to risk rejection. They don't want to be the one holding their heart out with no guarantee you'll still be there. So instead, they do the quiet version of hoping. Checking your last scene, wondering if your silence is permanent, replaying little moments in their mind to see if they missed something. But here's the thing. Just because he's waiting for a text doesn't mean you owe it to him. Just because he's curious doesn't mean he's committed. You're not responsible for soothing someone who chose to let go. And if his interest only shows up when your attention disappears, then it was never about loving you. It was about enjoying the comfort of being loved by you. So yes, he checks his phone more than he'll ever admit. But every time he does and sees nothing, he's reminded that you're no longer in the place he left you. And that might just be the wake-up call he never saw coming. There's always that moment after a breakup when you stare at your phone, wondering if reaching out would make a difference. You think, maybe if I just say hi, maybe if I let him know I still care, it'll open something up again. And that thought comes from such an honest, vulnerable place. It comes from the part of you that remembers how it felt when things were good, when connection was effortless. But here's what you need to understand. Texting him first doesn't just risk rejection. It risks lowering your value in his eyes, and more importantly, in your own. Because when someone ends things or starts drifting away, and you continue to chase, what you're doing without realizing is sending a message. You're saying, you don't have to show up fully. I'll meet you wherever you are, even if it means sacrificing my self-respect. And while your heart might feel like that message is an act of love, what it actually communicates is a lack of boundaries. And people respond to boundaries more than they respond to words. They feel them, they respect them, or at least the right ones do. The moment you text him first, especially after he's gone silent or walked away, you remove the tension that he needs to feel. That tension is what forces reflection. It's what creates the space for regret, for realization, for growth. If you fill that silence with another message, another check-in, you're taking away his opportunity to feel the absence of you. And the truth is, he should feel it. He should sit in that quiet and wonder why you're not reaching out this time. He should feel the shift in energy that says, I'm not chasing someone who couldn't choose me. You see, silence isn't passive, it's active. It's not about ignoring someone, it's about choosing yourself, choosing your dignity, choosing your peace over the roller coaster of uncertainty. And when you resist the urge to break the silence, you start to rebuild your value, not just in his eyes, but within yourself. Because you begin to realize that love shouldn't feel like you're constantly trying to prove your worth. It should feel like two people showing up equally with clarity and intention. If he truly values you, he'll reach out. He'll make it unmistakably clear. You won't have to decode his messages or read between the lines. You won't have to wonder if texting him first was a mistake. And if he doesn't come forward, that silence was your answer all along. Let it speak. Let it stand. Let it protect the version of you that no longer begs to be seen.